we crossed we're getting back to the Moselle River. And it was about, it was real wide. I thought, it's a big river, wide river, swift. When we got our boats in the river, and you got to remember it's dark. Just working on light reflections. Well, we wound up down the river about 100 yards. So we got over there and got out of our boats and started across there. And these Germans had their positions on the other side of the railroad track. There was a railroad that run parallel. And that's my first contact with the Germans there. And we had a firefight there with rifles. And we done real well. I was shooting from my shoulder. I was trying to kill Germans from my shoulder. They started running, some of them, see. We flushed them out, and so we tried to kill them when they was on the run. Well, we went on up through there, and I remember this was at Maulding where we crossed the river. We got up, there was a little highway that went up to Curling. But we went up there, and we had real good luck. But about halfway up there was a big old gun shot at us, and I thought that thing must be a big gun. Bow! And he didn't hit nobody, didn't do nothing. We got up there and took it, and it was an old-time, some kind of an old-time artillery piece. Its own, just two wheels, manhandled, and it was obsolete, but they had took it and made a weapon out of it. Well, we got up there in place, and again we flushed out the Germans. We didn't have any artillery support. We didn't have any tanks with us. All we had was our M1 rifles to get across the river. In the meantime, the river had got so wide. They flooded the dam up there, and it was a week before they ever got. I've later learned it was a week before that they ever got a bridge across it where they could cross the river. In the process, the Germans started running across the field down there. Well, I was shooting at them, just shooting from my shoulder, you see, trying to knock them down with that M1 rifle. Had real good luck. And directly wham, a German tank that was sitting down in the woods down in there, and he fired at me. The shell just went right over my head. I said, that don't sound good. And, they had a whole, and later, when after I was captured. So, I'll tell you, well, it was getting dark, you see. In the process, we had some wounded men. I don't know, I can't recall just how they got wounded, but we did. Well, there was an old German Army truck parked in this barn. So I says, well, let's get those men in that old truck and take them back down to the river and get them to the first aid somewhere. We get them down to the river, we get them back across there to first aid because they needed help. Well, just about the time we didn't know how to get it started. I don't remember what our idea was, but we got that old German truck out from under that barn and just shoved it in, and well, here comes some, just got it out there, pushed out there in the road, in the highway. Well, here come a 3 or 4 P-47, I believe they were, little Thunderbolts. Boy, and they were after bear.
Is that American?
Yeah, American planes.
I didn't know if it was British or American.
Yeah. Well, we got them out there, and here they come. And I seen he was going to strafe me.
Because you had a German.
Yeah, he thought we was Germans.
Yeah.
He thought we was Germans. Whoever was the pilot of that plane. Well, boy, he made a dive on us, and the 50 caliber just knocking up turf all around me. I don't know how I got through that without one of them hit me. And they wasn't, and kabooey, that German truck went up one. Well, I noticed them. When I was going to say, when I rolled it out there, I noticed about 10 rounds of old artillery ammunition laying up in the bed of that truck. This is straw. Well, boy, that fighter plane hit them, I guess, because there wasn't a piece of that truck left, you see. Well, here he come again. Well, I took my blanket and tried to flag him down that we was Americans, and that apparently couldn't see. But I don't remember anybody getting hurt, killing us or anything. But all we had was a bazooka, and I think we had a machine gun and maybe one anti-tank gun. They might have got one anti-tank gun over there. That's all we had that night. But in the process, as it got dark and they made their counterattack, those tanks come in there and they fired right into my position. That's all I remember. That's one of the last things I remember. When I was knocked out, concussion, something had knocked me out. I didn't remember it. I do, when I woke up, when I come to, I could see these guys dead there around me. They were dead.
Your men?
Yeah, and wounded. And then the Germans come in behind them tanks. The German infantry come in behind them tanks and took us. And I knew the jig was up then, because had I made any kind of surge from my right to kill them, they would kill me. So there was nothing else I could do.
How many of you were left?
There wasn't very many. I have no idea. Somewhere about 15, 16 of us.
Out of your 30 or whatever?
Yeah. And I had some wounded. And that's the reason I didn't run. Before I got knocked out, I would have my mind on just trying to. I think I was the only man that had a hold that night. The rest of them just laying out on top of the ground. That's the reason I lived.
Is that right before then you were trying to get help for these people that had been wounded?
Yeah.
And then more of them got wounded?
Yeah. Well, after I was trying, what kept me up there in the first place was these wounded men. I was trying to get in that truck. I was trying to keep, and according to Army lecture, I guess that I was wrong. I should have run. I should have run back to the river, like my captain did.
And not tried to help anybody?
Not tried to help the wounded. That's a kind of a no-no in a battlefield.
Because then you'll get taken.
Huh?
Because then you and who's left gets taken.
If there's wounded on the battlefield, and that's never been taught. That was never taught to me. But I know what to do the next time, because the wounded is there, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I did. This fellow was shot all here, and bloodiest mess that I ever saw, you see, and I was suffering, and I had a good medic. And after they captured us, they took us down them woods down where they were running when I was trying to kill them. When they were running back down the woods the evening before, there was about 20 big Panther tanks sitting down there. They had built corduroy roads out of wood logs. It was to get off the highway where they could park them. And I said, Lordy me.
You didn't know that was down there.
I didn't know that was in there when I was shooting down in there yet. There was my rifle that evening before, you see.
Kind of like a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Well, they counterattacked, and as you can see, that they fought there several days after that, you see. But I was going to tell you, the river got a half a mile wide, and they couldn't get any. They couldn't get any supplies. They couldn't get nothing.
Over to
But I should have run. I shouldn't have stayed there. I should have run. But I had my men there, and I felt dedicated enough to it. I wasn't going to go off and leave them. I wasn't not built that way, you see. Everybody in battle shows what they're made of. But I'd say one of the worst things to me is in battle is when a man get hit. Some of them scream. and some don't say a word.
They just take it, huh?
That's right. I had a had a fellow that he was wounded real bad, and he come back to the company, and that guy, when he got hit, he just, I know he would scream. All those little things you think about.
Yeah.
But most of those crosses over there are sergeants. A lot of them are sergeants.
Did you come back feeling like so many of them, that you should have been the one? So many people
Yeah.
did. Gosh, but I'm glad
And-
you weren't one.
And I've since I thought over the years, I should have went to a psychologist.
Well, sure you should.
I should have went
Yeah,
to see
they
a
talk about these
psychologist a
people.
year after I got out, because I come back, I thought everybody was after me, and it wasn't. It wasn't.
Well, you know, they talk about how the Vietnam veterans, they see all these psychiatrists and everything.
Yeah.
But to me, the atrocities that y'all saw were
Mhm.
were worse. I don't know why they make such a big deal out of. I guess the thing about Vietnam, though, is that it wasn't a war. We weren't
Yeah, it wasn't
declaring
dedicated,
war.
full scale
Yeah.
war. Now,
in the-
going on from here, let me go on. After they captured me, they took me to a little town back there and put me in a schoolhouse. And they had Lieutenant Honk, my lieutenant, that was captured with me. And I never saw him anymore after that. And he told, and it went to snowing that night. I remember that. He took me back there, and he says, Honker told me, he says, well, Slack said we were just used. Somebody had to get across that river, and we were used as a goat. You know, we was used at the point to get across there and feed them out. But we got across there, and apparently Americans stayed on across that river. They never did drive us back. But later on, they got replacements across there, and they really went to town on them and took
And
meds.
they did get
So they went
meds,
around in
didn't they?
circle. If I'd have stayed with them, we went around in circle. We made an encirclement of meds.
Uh-huh.
Meds had never been taken in a frontal assault, any kind of movement. But is the
So
history.
where did they take you, Uncle Leslie? What was the first thing
Well,
you
the first place they took me, they marched me to come through Kaiserslautern. I marched through the big city of Kaiserslautern. A big
That sounds. You
industrial
mean
city.
they marched you into Germany?
Yeah, they marched me on back.
Or did they march you, or did they
Yeah,
put
they
you
marched
in
me.
a truck?
They marched me, I don't know how many days. But they marched me, I remember they marched me through Kaiserslautern. Charlotte. They marched me through Charlotte. And the city was bombed block by block. There wasn't a standing building, but they didn't blow up the bridge. They didn't bomb the bridges. So we marched us right across the Saar River, the outskirts of the city. And that's one thing I remember is how the people had built a house in the cliffs. There's a little side of the mountains. The cliffs, how them people had built their homes in these mountains.
Mm.
They just dug them out of holes.
Because their houses were
Yeah.
blown up?
Yeah, they wouldn't have no place to live. A big city. The Americans had bombed it till there wasn't nothing left. Then I was thinking they marched me through Kaiserslautern, but finally wound up with Limburg. They took me to the first prison camp in Limburg, which was called a transit camp. And I was there at Christmas. I remember I was there, I believe I was there at Christmas.
And you still had David's picture with you?
Yeah, they didn't take that away from me. Sure did. But they put in a place, there was some British prisoners that were captured at original when they took France. Over there, where's that place they got on the?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Dieppe. It's on before that. Over there, where they everybody just left and got on these boats at whenever they had to get out of France, you know. Englishmen had ruled, and I appreciated the English prisoners because they were dedicated, they were neat soldiers, they kept their temperament, and they kept their respect, and I admired them. They shined their shoes, and they looked like soldiers.
Even though they were
Where the Americans
prisoners,
were sloppy, a lot of the Americans were sloppy, and they wouldn't try to keep themselves up and keep their pride up. That helped me a lot.
Mhm.
And he told me, he says, well, I think the war will, you know, at that time, I don't think the war will last. Oh, I said, it'll last about a year yet, old buddy. And he was right. And so we went on, and then they put us in boxcars. They put 70 in boxcars to ship us to the next prison camp. Like boxcars sat there 3 days on that sidetrack before they ever moved us. Without any food, without any water, without anything, see? That was one of the hardest, that first 3 days sitting there. As long as the train was moving.
I bet it was just, were people throwing up the whole?
Yeah, and using their helmet to go to the bathroom and all that sort of thing. And that was the hardest thing on me, sitting there 3 days in that boxcar, and these men become just like animals. In that boxcar, they were just like animals. Well, we finally got going. And I stayed in that boxcar, the best I remember, right, I've always said it was about 11 days. Either 13 or 11 days we stayed there. In that boxcar. And I got to Frankfurt on the Main, we were bombed 4 hours there by bombers. You know?
Had to sit there while you
That boxcar just jumping down on the track, and the bomb just winding down on us.
God.
Then the one hit us. And I got me a little, they didn't take my little old knife away from me. So I whittled me a little old bitty place in the side of that boxcar where I could see out. You'd be surprised how much you can see through a little bitty crack. That was a solid boxcar. And I look out there and I'd watch them bombs hit. All like a big black tomb of smoke every time one of them had hit.
Did you just feel like you were going to be?
I got used to them. See, they bombed us
you got
4
used
hours,
to
and I
it.
finally got up on my feet, and I could look out of that boxcar and watch it. And they're just raining down, and wow, and make the funny noise, you know, when they come down. And the Germans, boy, you didn't hear no Germans.
They were undercover.
You bet. But when it was all over, you could hear them, go! Oh! You could hear them holler, trying to find one another. Well, the train moved on out, and we went, I didn't know where we were at, but we stopped. We stopped at a nice city depot. It was a nice city, but the depot. And I still think they was going to give us some food, you see, because we were hungry. About 6 days out. And I felt like they were going to give us some food, or drinking water. And they opened that door. And them old boys kicked them helmets with all that crap in there. And he went right in that depot. All that slop and stuff went in that depot. Man, them Germans got mad. I could tell they were cussing. And they slammed that boxcar door, and we didn't get nothing.
Oh,
If they would, I think we're going to give us some food. But them old boys just took their foot and just kicked them helmets with all that crap in them.
Do you think the British
A
soldiers?
lot of people had diarrhea and stuff like that, you see. And
Do you think the British people would have behaved that way if they'd been boxed up in there like that for so long?
they've been rougher. Boy, they made the Germans teeth the the British made the Germans teeth the line on that Red Cross treaty. They made them. They knew the law, and they wouldn't back, and they'd just stand up to them like a lawyer. Where the Americans didn't know it, didn't give a damn. I've seen the British put them back in the passenger train carrier. There one place. The British were they were highly respected, the Germans.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you what Hitler said about not wanting to. He had too much respect for Britain to go ahead and bomb them because there's a race he really
They would
wants to
take our, if they had Red Cross food parcels over there in them warehouses, they wouldn't give us, it was ours, but they give the British theirs. Americans didn't have anybody in leadership know what to do.
Mhm.
But them British made them dole them out. They made them come across.
Well, so when they shut the cars back, the doors back, where did they take y'all?
Well, they took us on and
Did y'all fight among yourselves? Like, why did y'all do that? and all that?
no, it wasn't like that. They just wasn't in a good humor.
Ooh, I guess not.
It's just like an old bumblebee, you know. It was just mean. Well, they put it. We kept on going. After we left there, we went to Firstingburg, which is on the Oder, not on the Oder River. There's another river over there on close to the Polish border, Real cold, real cold. Stayed in there and stayed there. And got there, and American, a POW met us there, and they didn't put any kind of platform, anything, but us get out of the boxcar. And we've been laying there 8 days, and I remember I just fell out of that boxcar. I just fell out of there. I couldn't jump. I just fell out of that boxcar. It's cold. Anyway, I got out of it, Bill.
What kind of clothes did you have?
I had on when I got captured. I had on everything I wear. I had on my wool long johns that they issued me. And I had on my wool trousers. I had on a sweater. And I had on my overcoat.
So you were pretty warm.
Yeah,
red
but my feet was the only thing that was so cold. And when they let us out of that boxcar, this American gave each one of us a cigarette. And I never will forget how good that cigarette was. Boy, I smoked. That was the best cigarette I ever smoked in my life. When they took us down there and put us in this prison camp, it was, I believe, Firstingburg was prison camp 3C. It was American non-commissioned officers, corporals and sergeants. That was the Switzerland Red Cross law that they couldn't work for non-commissioned officers, and they respected that to a certain extent. And I was lucky there. And so when they put us in this prison camp, they didn't have any place for me to for a man to lay down. They didn't have any food, so they brought a half a barrel, an old barrel, just in there, like one of these whiskey barrels cut half in two full of barley. I'd never eaten any barley before, but that was the best stuff I ever ate.
Was it hard? Wasn't it hard? Wasn't dry?
No,
barley?
it was boiled barley.
Oh boy, I bet it was good.
You ever eat any barley? You
Well-
always put that in your soup. That's the best thing.
Yeah,
ever.
I've eaten it in soup.
Alvina puts it in soup.
Uh-huh.
But they give us a hot cup of barley, and I never will forget how good that was to me. But we had some men that had frostbite. Oh, how they suffered. They suffered the whole thing. I just wondered if their feet didn't rot off.
Mm-hmm.
Then I stayed there, and I don't know what date that was I got there. Well, it was Thanksgiving. I was at Limburg, and I was there at Christmas at this place, Furstenberg. I was there at Christmas.
In 44.
4, yeah. That was Thanksgiving I was thinking about. I was going to miss telling you something about when we stayed in this prison camp at Limburg. We were downstairs, but they had a pipe or something that runs from the bottom up to the cook's, where the cook was. They had if they had anything to eat up there, this Frenchman was doing the cooking. And they had a hole up there in the top of that place, and the Americans would tap on that thing, and he'd drop an apple, or if he had the food, he'd drop stuff down. So all these guys stood around the pipe, and they'd tap on the pipe all the time, see if they could get the food out of it. These GIs, they'd all stand around there looking, and this Frenchman, you see, he'd give the whole house away if he'd get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to help us.
Yeah.
But that was just one thing I was going to mention. And I always tapped on that thought, maybe I'd get some food, but I never did.
Never did get any, huh?
Anyway, we got into Furstenberg, and there was a big canal, older canal, they call it the older canal. And it was froze up, it was froze solid, it was cold. I got in there and didn't have any heat in the barracks whatsoever, cold, and no place to lay down. But when I got into this prison camp, I used to be with the 36th Infantry Division when the 144th was them, you see. And no boy by the name of Bill Langston's dead now, from Belton, Texas. 143rd Infantry. He come in there and says, anybody from Texas? Anybody from Texas? I says, yeah, I'm Texas. He said, well, what outfit was you from? I said, well, I fought with the 90th Division. I fought with the 90th Division, but I was with the 144th. And that just tickled him to death. And I told him, and so him and his muckers, the prison camp buddies were called muckers. Him and his muckers had been in prison camp since they got captured at Solano in 1943, I guess. And he knew I was hurting real bad. We call that, if you're in bad shape, you're hurting. And he says, I want you to come up tonight and barracks something number so and so. I want you to. It was pretty close to Christmas. And they had heat. They had somehow or other they had got some wood. And they had a heat, and they had got some Red Cross parcels from home. Had raisins. They got raisins and chocolate bars and some clam milk, and that's kind of feed babies on them. And fixed up some hot food. Tried that raisin pie, and Bill had me up there, and these other muckers are all 36th Division men too. Well, I just like getting back with my brothers, really, because we have maneuvered so much and soldiered so much back in the States. And old Bill tried to fix up all his food, and I found out I couldn't eat.
Why?
My stomach had drawed up. I couldn't eat very much. I just eat it. My stomach had absolutely drawed up.
I guess so. Did you get clean water? Did you have water to drink?
They had one spigot for about 4,000 men.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't no place to wash your clothes or nothing. And they had just no wooden rack built with slats, and I had one little old blanket that had about 40 holes in it. That's all I had to put over my. And I just learned to just curl myself up in a wad to keep warm. But in this prison camp, I was told there were 7,000 American non-coms. Ground force non-com. Wasn't any of the Air Force, just ground force. We captured in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and France. And right after Christmas, in the prison camp they had men that were traitors. And they had all the cigarettes. Cigarettes was money. In the prison camp, the man that had the cigarettes, he was the millionaire. And he could bribe a German, he could bribe anybody with American cigarettes. And this compound had a 2 barbed wire fence about 10 feet apart, about 15 feet high. And a guard in the tower with a revolving light with a machine gun, a guard. But at the bottom of that tower, he had a little hole where you could crawl through. It was big enough for a man to crawl through without being too noticeable, but he could crawl through there. And these Americans would go to the French compound because the French worked for the Germans, and they had flour, they had coffee, they had groceries. At least they liked these American cigarettes, but to get to that compound, he had to bribe that guard. He'd tell that guard how many cigarettes. He had a fee for you to go through that hole into that next compound. So they'd say, iron, trying, to get their fingers, you know, and well, he'd lay his cigarettes down there and go on through. The little guard, he'd come down the ground and get his cigarettes and go back up and get back on guard duty. And when he come back through, he had to do the same thing.
To get back over.
You had to get back. Well, a lot of times they'd have raids, you know, and Germans would come in there and raid them. And they'd get caught, the traitor would get caught over there on the other side, and they'd take everything he had away from him. But eventually, some Red Cross fruit parcels got in there. About the time I had this picture taken here, and they would make us stand in line for the box. A Red Cross fruit parcel was there was 4 12-pound boxes in a big box. Well, they divided up to where 6 men they let 6 men have a 12-pound box. They had to live on a 12-pound box. They'd have I believe it was 6 men. I never did get many. But they made us stand in the line over in that snow and ice for about 2 hours to get that box. Why? They punched a hole in all the cans. They wouldn't give you the parcel without punching a hole in all the cans. The jelly, if it was some jelly in there, that they made them.
Oh,
They cut the tops out of them
wasn't any.
because they were afraid you would try to hoard it and escape.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want nobody to escape. It messed it up to where you couldn't keep it.
Keep it, yeah.
And that's the way that went. But there was some guys that, as I look back, there was a lot of those guys that their temperament was made to where they didn't. They was hard to knock down. They still kept their. You know, they went through all this, and they were
Survivors.
yeah, they were survivors. They were survivors, and they made the best of everything. I look back now and see how good of survivors they were. They didn't worry. I noticed they didn't worry about what happened to them in their tank or whatever they got captured. They didn't worry about spilled milk. They went on, and where I worried a lot. It hurt me a lot to know that what happened to me that
You mean you agonized over the mistakes you
yeah,
made, or what if
did I do wrong? You
what
know,
if
to be
I had done this instead of that?
Why did I end up like this? And I'd have some of the old prisoners that was like old Bill Langston. He was that way. He was just a guy that didn't ever get down, you know. And so anyway, when Bill took me up there in that barracks that night and fed me, I said, if I ever get back to Texas, I'm going to buy you a steak dinner, you know. Because he was the type of guy that really did hit me. And I got to do that before he died. I got to get his wife lives at Belton now. But
Well, that's neat.
but then just finish it up. Just after Christmas, the Russians came in. And boy, Hitler had a meeting there. We're close by. And I never saw as many German fighter planes. Ooh, he had a meeting with his generals. And there it wasn't long till the Russians came in, you see. And just one night about 7 o'clock, they put all 7,000 of us on the road, marching towards the west. We're going west. And it was ice and snow, and that was one of the most terrible things I ever did, was stepping on each other's heels and sliding and slid. But all these guys that had saved up all their cigarettes and all their soap all their loot. They hastily took them old slats and built them a sled so they could pull it down these icy roads. Well, the sled was in the way, and we're stepping on the sled.
Did they tell you where you were going?
No. They
Didn't
just
tell you.
put us out
They
on the.
moved you out when Hitler was having this big powwow.
Yeah, it was a big.
Wow, why did they move y'all out then?
Oh, they was getting us. The Russians is right on their tail.
Oh.
So the Russians right close to us.
Looks like they would have just left y'all there though.
Oh no.
I don't understand the logic behind taking prisoners, because then when you got all these people and you've got to feed them and all this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and you gotta
I
have
thought
a
about
place
that
for
too.
'em.
But you know, Hitler meant business right down. He was gonna win it right down to the last minute. They wasn't gonna give in a minute. That's the reason his generals tried to assassinate him.
Oh
There
yeah,
in
that
August.
guy. He snuck in there and put that bomb, that
Mhm.
suitcase down, and
They knew it.
they knew he was nuts.
They knew they knew there wasn't no hope.
And they knew that he was going to keep on until he killed everybody or
That's
dang
exactly right.
near it.
Well,
So
when
where'd
they
y'all
started
go?
marching y'all.
They marched us 7 days, and that first night and all that next day before they let us stop. And
You mean
talking,
all through the night?
yeah, marched all night and all day long. And if you stop, if you strike them, they'd kill you.
But you said they had police dogs
Yeah.
and all.
And they would kill you. And boy, so they stopped and put us in a barn at night.
Not 7,000 of you.
No, they just divided us up.
Mhm.
They just divided us up in all them barns and farms down the road. They just let us stay in them barns. That's where I got so lousy. Oh, lice was terrible.
I wondered if you got
Oh,
anybody
lice.
else.
I got so lousy. It's terrible. That's where I got it, sleeping in them barns. And the way so I was hungry. I had 1 can of sardines I kept out of a parcel. It's the only thing I had. And I ate them. Boy, was they good. I said I was going to buy me a case of sardines.
Yeah.
When I got back to the States and ate the whole case. And, but what I did, they had shocks of wheat up in these barns in the lofts. And I'd pull that wheat off. And I just kept pulling that wheat off till I filled all them old baggy pockets, my GI trousers. I filled them with that wheat. And I would eat wheat. And I'd just keep chewing on that dough, and I'd keep chewing and swallow it. And I kept building my stomach up, and that's where I got my strength. I didn't have a lot of strength, but I had enough strength to keep walking.
Well, we talked yesterday about how much weight you lost.
Probably, but that, when I really got bad shape, they marched us, or when I got to Lukenwall, why, they had 10 tents set up for us when we got there. 10 big old tents. They had these Russian slave laborers to go out there and cut all the trees off this area and put up these tents. And it just laid straw down on the ground. Yeah, I believe there was about 3,000 or 4,000, 3,500 or something like that in this one block. And I never did know where the rest of them went. They just scattered them out in different places, but it was about. But on, I never will forget, on the 2nd of March, it came a terrible, terrible storm and wind and blowed all of them down, about 3 of them. And they had to just lay out there, and it got cold.
Did you get up under the tent though?
I managed to keep it on the tent.
Did you still have a blanket?
I think I might have had that one blanket, kept that. But we didn't have any food. The only food they would bring in that old pot of dehydrated rutabaga turnips. And I have never before or since seen anything as bad as that was to try to eat. My God, that was terrible. I couldn't eat them. Couldn't nobody eat them. And they'd bring you supposed to be some kind. They'd try to bring us some coffee. ersatz coffee, something like that. He wasn't, just starved out, and that's when I got poor. I got poor after that march.
Mhm.
But I want to tell you something. When we moved, in Furstenberg, they had a radio. They had radios. They were keeping up with the progress of the war and could give you the news. You knew all about what was going on from day to day. When we got to, so those guys that had that radio, they packed it in a way that they brought it with us to Lukenwald. So the guards, when they'd make the news, so the way they did it, they'd get the news, and they had a newsmaster that brought from tent to tent to give the news. And if there's any Germans come around, they'd holler, air raid, air raid, air raid. You hear them on it. So the Germans didn't know that we were getting the news all that time.
Was it in German or was it in French?
No, it was in English.
Oh, you could get English.
It was the English. It was a broadcast.
Like Radio Free Europe.
Yeah. They would get it, but they tell me that they packed that radio in old margarine
Gosh, that's a weird thing.
to keep the German never did know that they had it. The things that. But anyway, winding it all up on about April, sometime in April, the Russians came in. The Russian army came in, and that was a sight. That was a sight to behold. The Russian army with those big tanks, boy, they came through there, and they wasn't nothing but a streak of dust. They were after them. And then here came the Russians in their horse-drawn wagons and things, pulling cows and all their loot, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Russian women. I never saw, boy, them Russian women were rough looking.
Weren't they ugly?
Ugly, pulling them old cows. See, that was their milk and meat.
Uh-huh.
They'd looted them Germans, and they came in into this town of Lukenwald. Well, when the Russian guards left there, they told us not to get out of the compound, not to leave the compound. Well, you know, Americans. They went downtown. The rest of them had already gone down there, so I thought, we'd go down and get some food, do a little looting ourselves. Well, this Minnow Fisher, this guy I was telling you about, got this picture. We went down to Lukenwald. We went down to a hotel, fine hotel, and went down the basement, down in the cellar. And we found all kind of canned goods. Lots of empty bottles, but there wasn't much, but there was some carrots and peas and that kind of stuff, And so we got us a sack, and we was going to do a little looting ourselves and go back to camp and have a little chow. Going to eat up, you see. Well, I come out of that hotel and got out on the street there, and there's a Russian woman grabbed my sack. You see? And so I jerked on her. I said, that's my sack. And this Russian soldier pointed a rifle at me right quick, and the old Fisher says, let her have it. So I let her have my sack of chow right there. That's the reason I'm here today, because she would have killed me if I had let her have that chow. So we came back to the camp empty-handed. We didn't get.
You mean the guards all left?
Yeah.
And they told you.
Oh, I mean, they left. They run.
But you were gonna go out and then come back.
Yeah. But they were Russians all over the place. See.
Well, those Russians weren't very nice to young men.
No. I just soon have a French German pointing a gun at me as a Russian.
But I thought Russia was our ally.
Oh yeah, but those guys didn't know their allies nothing. They wasn't nothing to them. They were just. But so they organized the camp into companies. So 200 and something men into companies. We're going to have it organized, and we're not going to leave the camp, And we're gonna have orderly withdrawal if they come get us and all that jazz, you see. I sat there and I forget what my number was. Sat there. I noticed all these guys taking off down the road. Let's go to west. So I was about getting ready to do that too. And lo and behold, one day, I don't know how many trucks of black bread they brought into that prison camp. I never saw so much black bread. Just stacked in there like cordwood in these trucks. They took them in there and emptied them, and we just all looking on waiting, you see. And I forget, I don't think they knew what company got on them trucks to get out of there. But when they passed me, Fisher, Slack, hang on, Slack, hang on. We'll get you on, come on. Well, that truck, I had never seen an Army truck haul that many men before. Well, they must have been 200 men on that truck. That old Army truck was just squatting, just barely could pull. And I held up my hand and my arms, and I got to tell, they just pulled me up in that truck. Through all those guys. If I hadn't had these acquaintances, if they knew me, there was nobody else cared. You see, I would never got out of there. So I got on that truck, and it wasn't but a few hours. I was across the Elbe River, and Americans come in the 30th. I wound up in the 30th Division sector, and that's where I lost my picture of David and Levina. There somehow or another. Anyway, so they took us on up the hill.
Were you still lousy?
Yeah, got awful lousy. Woo! So but they took us on up to Hildesheim, Germany. That was our old German air base. Well, these DC-3s was flying in 10-in-1 rations, just big stacks of 10-in-1 rations.
Oh, they weren't dropping them.
No, they just dropped up there with it and unloading them out of there and taking prisoners of war back to Lahore, France. Well, I noticed all that 10-in-1 rations, that a good chow, you know. Stacked ever so often, about 100 yards. And I didn't see but one or two guards down there. So we just stand there, we was waiting to get on one of them DC-3s, you see. And we'd already told us not to drink any, not to fill our stomachs up with anything, so I forget just how it was, but we crawled down there that night, right under a guard's nose, and cut me a case of them 10-in-1 rations, and they eased up back up through there to the barracks where they had us. And we opened that 10-in-1 ration, and we had a feast.
What do they have in 10-in-1?
Well, they had a can of bacon, about like that, just packed with bacon, lots of bacon in that one tin, and they had cereal and milk.
Like Jersey milk?
They had canned milk in it.
Yeah.
Candy bars, and just a little everything in there. Just a lot of cigarettes. 10 men can make one good meal on.
Is that why it's 10-in-1?
Yeah. And so we had a big feast that night. That 10-in-1 ration. That old boy never know I got that case of rations down there.
Either that or he knew it and he just couldn't turn a blind
If he knew,
eye.
if he'd have seen you knew it.
Was it American? Car?
Well, now,
But
why
right
would
down
they-
that long runway, they just stacked out these 10-in-1 rations.
Now, how could they expect y'all not to get that if you
They didn't want us to eat anything. They didn't want us to. They afraid to hurt our stomach.
Well, did it hurt your stomach?
No, it hurt me.
Did you get on that DC-3 the next day?
Next morning they called a number. We all got on that DC-3, and I still had some of the 10-in-1 rations. And I was eating on the way over. They got to Lahore, and they unloaded us down there and de-loused. They had a big de-lousing place down there. It was a first-class de-lousing station. Boy, there's a minute death down there. They de-loused us and give us new clothes, new
So you
wood.
could quit itching. Did you have sores from?
No, I never did have sores. I just miserable.
Yeah.
Boy, it was so good to get rid of them old clothes.
Mm-hmm.
They give me new clothes, and then fixed me where I couldn't get lousy again. All that.
They dumped you in a dipping tank, huh?
Yeah. No, they used powder.
Oh.
They used some kind of powder. Best I remember. A hot shower, you know, and then all that.
I
And then-
bet you felt like you'd died and gone to heaven when you
Yeah.
got in the shower.
Yeah.
How about your teeth all this time?
It was pretty. I done pretty well.
Did you lose many teeth?
You know, had pretty bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I was going to say, we had these chocolate bars. You know how I guess we still had a lot of mischief about us, but the trucks going up the harbor, steep place going up to where this plateau was, to where Camp Lucky Strike was.
Camp Lucky Strike.
Camp Lucky Strike was the name of it. That was a discharge place for all ex-POWs.
Oh, I guess that was a Lucky Strike.
They had a delousing station. They fixed up. They had just Brummel tents as far as you could see. Down there, big chateau, big fine French chateau, but it was level. But going up this hill there, I remember them boys. These French kids would holler, "Chocolat for Papa, cigarette for Papa, and chocolate for Mama." Well, these guys would hold that chocolate bar out of the back of that truck, make them French kids run all the way up that hill trying to get that chocolate bar.
But they wouldn't give it to them.
Yeah, I think they gave it to them. You know, they just watch them run. They was really after them. You know, the chocolate bars. But that's one thing you remember. There's cigarette for Papa and chocolate for Mama. They stand on the side of the road begging.
Uh-huh.
You know, begging. They're hungry.
Oh, you know
Lahore,
they were hungry.
Lahore was a big city.
That's what I don't understand about war anyway. Of course they didn't have anything to give prisoners of war because they barely had anything left over to give their army. And how did civilians live if their cities
Well,
were...
They carry soup. They carry soup bucket, little soup bucket container around with them all the time. Because they stopped making some soup or something. They live from day to day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Americans don't know what it is to live that way. That's the way they live. But after we left Camp Lucky Strike, they put us on a troop ship at there, and I can't think of the name of it. It was a troop ship, and it had a big kitchen in it. See, it had about 8 or 10 big stainless steel pots, and to feed about 4,000 men on that thing. Well, I got in there and got me a job in the kitchen, the first thing. So, me and Bill, we worked in the kitchen. Our job was to open them big gallon cans of vegetables for them pots and potatoes, and keep all them pots full of vegetables and stuff. And we could go down in the hold of that ship. They had a lot of good food down there that, you know, besides that, we could get, they had oysters and shrimp, stuff like that. We could go down and get some of that, you know, and the rest of them didn't know about it. But they had a lot of potatoes down there and all that stuff, and that was our job, to go down and get that food out of that hole. And
How did you manage to land that job?
just told them I wanted a job on the kitchen. Just go in, you know. And old Bill was the outgoing kind of guy that could talk
Did
to.
you have to have a job?
No, I just
You probably didn't have to have a
no,
job.
I could just got on there. I didn't want to just sit there and ride that ship. I wanted to do something.
You had enough to just sit
Yeah,
and do
so
nothing.
and I thought, well, if I get to the food, that and whenever I was in bad shape, and by the time I got home, everybody expected to see me in bad shape. I weighed 190 pounds.
By the time you got home on that boat, huh?
I eat all the time.
Well, Uncle Lester, what was that story about that guy with the bread?
Yeah, I was going to tell you about
Now that's the
When
only
we was
story I've ever heard.
when we were in these tents.
The
When we
ones
were in
that fell
tents, and
down?
they wasn't any food. They wasn't any. There was an old boy there had a loaf of bread by the name of Pineapple. We called him Pineapple. Big, long, tall fella. But he's sitting over there right to my left. And every morning, every meal, he would cut him off a slice, and he had some old margarine. And he would cut, they had a big long knife, and he'd cut him off a slice of that bread. It was Sherman bread, real firm, thick. And he'd butter the, it'd take him about 30 minutes to put all that oleo on that loaf of bread, you see.
Getting ready to eat.
Yeah, and he'd eat, and he'd grate that great big old mouth, and he'd eat. And all the rest of us down there, he'd just take a bite, he'd chew about 10 minutes, and he'd make it look so good. We didn't have nothing. And every morning he'd done that for a long time there. And he'd put, when he got through it, he had a little old sack, a little cloth sack. He'd put that loaf of bread and put it under his head, on that straw there, and sleep on it. Every night, next morning, he'd get it out. He'd take that loaf of bread out of that sack, cut it, and go through that same procedure, and he'd butter that piece of bread there with that. He'd look at her, he'd look at me, and look at everybody there. I didn't say nothing to him. He didn't say nothing to me, you know. He just eat his bread. And he didn't say, boy, I wish you brothers had some or something. And that bread got down about a half a loaf, or a third of a loaf. One morning he'd go cook. And his bread was gone. He says there's a damn thief around here.
Did you know who got it?
I never did. I never did know. We never did know who. But old Fisher, see, he was that guy I was talking about. We'd watch it, see. And he'd say, watch it. But
Wonder where he got it. Wonder where he got the bread.
I don't know.
How did he
I
get
never
bread?
could figure that out. But he had that loaf of bread, but the slice he'd cut off wasn't about a quarter of an inch thick, you see. He didn't cut no thick.
Well, he was holding off trying to make it last.
And the reason we nicknamed him Pineapple was he was in the Army. He was a regular Army man. It was captured in North Africa, you see. He'd been in the Army all his life, mind you. He was served in Hawaii. And in the prison camp, everybody's always talking about food, you see. And he kept telling how they fixed them pineapples. Oh, all the different ways they fixed them pineapples. And so we nicknamed him Pineapple. And he just keep talking about them pineapples, so we nicknamed him Pineapple. But he'd eat that bread, and he didn't care about nobody else. He was eating his own bread, and he didn't. You just another man out there in this old cold world.
Survivor.
Yeah, you're just a survivor. You're just hard luck, buddy. You just got to do without. That's fine. I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Oh, I think I'd have shared with somebody, don't you?
But-
think?
Just a few days, the Russian Air Force was bombing Berlin. Boy, that's the last time I saw an Cobra fighter plane. Boy, they were bombing Berlin. The earth was just shaking. Then one night, the British planes come in there and hit an ammunition dump right there by this prison camp.
Was this prison camp near Berlin?
50 kilometers southwest.
What does that mean? How many miles is
That's
that?
not very many miles.
Okay. I don't
And
know
they
how long
hit an ammunition dump over there, and the world lit up, blue, yellow, red. I've never seen such an explosion. A lot of these old prisoners they were been there in prison camp a pretty good while. And they just couldn't hardly take it. They just went all to pieces. And I know there's a little old German guard there. He was a little old drawed up fella. He wasn't big as nothing. And the Americans, he'd come around and try to get some sympathy for all these. And said they told him, says, boy, them Russians are gonna make sausage out of you. He wasn't nobody to run to. And he was standing right there with his little old rifle just shaking, you know. I felt sorry for him.
Mm.
But that was about the last of it right there. But
Yeah.
some of those men, wandered around in Europe for 6 months before they come home.
Why?
They wanted to see Europe. There was lots of them that didn't come home for 6 months or a year. They saw everything in Europe that they wanted to see.
They probably
They
heard
hoboed, hitchhiked, done everything. I didn't know that just a few years ago, what some of them did.
You had no desire to stick around there, did you?
Goodness gracious, no, I just want to get home to my wife and baby. Man, I had my mind made up just the fastest way. When I got to Boston, Albert came to see me up there. And I believe.
Probably, because that's when he had re-enlisted and he was back.
Yeah, he was up there close.
In fact, I thought he mentioned that on the tape. I know he mentioned
I believe
it.
Albert came to see me up there at Boston.
I think probably at one of the times when we were talking or something.
Yeah.
You know, because like even with this tape, we'll have to sit there and let you really have to catch everything somebody says.
Yeah.
Or you lose some of it. But I thought he did mention
Come back
that.
and got on that troop train, come right straight to Fort Sam Houston,
San Antonio.
San Antonio, and that's where I made my mistake. I should have got on the train and went to Seattle to Fort. Lavina was at Longview, see.
Well, I was
She
gonna
was
ask you if
she was
she
Castle
there.
Rock, and I didn't know what to do. I was just like I was a stranger more or less. I'd been in the Army so long, I didn't know what to do, and I should have went right straight to Fort Lewis and went to see what was Lavina and them there. But I thought I had to come to Texas, huh?
Could you have told them that?
Yeah, all I had to do is I want to go to Fort Lewis. But since they looked at my record, they just said you want to go to Fort Sam
Texas.
Houston. But I look back now and I didn't know what to do, and I should have went to head shrinker for about a year after I got out. I didn't know.
Well, I don't even know.
I didn't know how to act.
What's the first thing you did when you got home?
Gosh,
Where did he go? Where did you go? Did you go then to Washington?
I went right to Fort Sam Houston. So
No,
I was
no,
gonna.
when you
I got on a train and fixed and go to Washington.
Mhm.
And for some reason, I says, man, I can't make it up there. I'll just let Lavina and him come down here. And I come to Lufkin. I got off the train in Jacksonville and come to
Well,
Lufkin.
that made more sense. Yeah.
But I didn't really know how to make decisions. I didn't know
Well,
what to
you were
do.
probably just in shock.
No, I just been in the Army too long. Just in that type, got out in this civilian life. Didn't know how to act. And I thought everybody was trying to get me. I had a chip on my shoulder. Man, I was just a different world. And I've thought about it a lot of times. It says, boy, if I wished I'd have went to, and I thought that Texas and lead and brick was the only thing there was, you know, and I could have went to Seattle and made that just as well. You know where most of those guys that come out of there, they went to work in the post office, postal service. Those that didn't stay in the Army went to the postal service. Well, that'd been just as good a job as if I'd had lead and brick. Come down here in this hard climate. Right there.
You just thought you were supposed to do that, huh?
Yeah. But see, when I was drafted, they just drafted all us good old boys like me, you see. And they put us in the infantry. I just said, well, I'm just a hard luck kind, and I always felt like I was beneath these other guys.
Well, I think you and Daddy and all of. Did you notice in Daddy's tape how he kept saying I was just the bottom of the?
I was the bottom of the.
Yeah, you can.
I was bottom of the barrel.
Have you got any final words you want to say about this?
Could you fight war better now?
Oh yeah. There's one thing that I'm glad I fought I'm glad I fought him.
Any message you
Don't-
wanna leave to your grandkids and your great-grandkids that you don't know yet
No.
about the war?
No, I don't think there's anything I'd want to say. All I say is, I'm glad I was opportunity, I patriotic to the bone, and I would fight them again because they were a ruthless, Hitler was a ruthless bunch, and they had to be whipped, and regardless of what anybody said, we had to destroy them, and I'm glad I had that part in it. Because anybody that will take men and women and children and go out and starve them to death and put them in gas chambers and do that sort of thing has to be destroyed. There's no way about it. We just hope that we'll have peace.
Now this is Uncle Leslie's picture and papers from the prison camp.
Can you see it? Do you think? Let's put it on the TV after you get through.
This is his picture as a young Army officer.
I was thinking about how he said, at least you can be
He was a
proud,
sergeant.
but you don't have to tell your grandchildren you shovel shit.
Fine looking man.
Now what?
We're proud of him.